Arjun, this is your first slide.
Let me just give me 1 minute. There's some issue with my screen. Just give me 1 minute.
No problem.
I'm not able to see your screen. Yeah, okay. Okay.
So can you all see?
I can see it now.
Okay. Okay, have you seen your slide? Arjun?
Yeah, I've seen. Go ahead.
So identify the procedure and the device.
So the two devices that were shown on the first one was a different device, and the second and third one were the same devices. The first one is a sling device. It is an adjustable transobturator male system, which is a device for male incontinence. On the third one, I can on the third one is it looks like an AMS sphincter. It is the AMS 800. Looking at the newer cuff that looks around 3 centimeter, and the first and second slides are the atoms. The A and B are atoms, and C is artificial urinary sphincter. I'll just keep it as artificial urinary sphincter. And the procedure is for male urinary incontinence, male stress urinary incontinence.
Yes.
The procedure.
See, you may not, if you are not sure about the company, there is no need.
Yes, sir, I'm just putting it as AUS. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just tell me which is the second one.
The first and second.
So the last slide, the first, the thing I want to ask, which is what is the last one? What is this?
So the first and so that is a reservoir, cuff, and pump. So that is a artificial urinary sphincter.
Yeah.
These three parts. The first A and B. This is the atoms in the open mode, and this is B atoms, where you can see the mesh that has gone through the obturator internus, which is the way of placing it. And along with that, you can see that cushion that is there, that is present on the ventral aspect of the urethra, which is typical of atoms. And you also have a reservoir. You also have that adjustable system where you can fill the amount of fluid required, and according to that, the amount of continence needed can be gotten in the atom system.
Yeah. No. So the question, the question is what? Just answer.
Sir, atoms, and AUS, and it is for male stress urinary incontinence.
That's very good. Fantastic.
Achal, hold on. Is it for stress? Yeah, it is for stress urinary incontinence. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Specific parts of the device you have already told us.
Yes.
Name the two most important precautions you will take while inserting the sphincter, the artificial sphincter.
The artificial sphincter would be damage to the urethra, as I am putting my cuff around the urethra.
Two most important things you will do
precautions.
before.
He's asking
precautions.
Precautions would be where the cuff has been placed. The ideal site of cuff placement would be just distal to the fusion of the corpora cavernosa. That would be my ideal site of placement. I'll make sure that the device exactly fits there. I'll also make sure that the cuff fits snugly to an extent that a catheter can be passed, but I'll fix it to there is also pressure gauge on there where I'll make sure that the pressure is around.
What is the commonest complication of AMS?
Sir, retention. Sir, immediate is retention, sir. And after that, infection. Mechanical failure. Infection.
What precautions you will take while to avoid the mechanical failure?
Sir, I'll make sure that I first check the device before inserting it. I'll make sure that the device is working properly before I've inserted it. And also, after I've inserted it, I'll make sure that I on table, I perform the, I make sure that I press the device and the fluid gets filled up into the cuff at least 3 or 4 times before I take the patient out. And I'll make sure all my tubings are are connected properly.
See, I will tell you one thing. The surgery to the host, means to the patient, is one part. And what I understand, name the two most important precautions while inserting the device. So one is you don't want it that any needle or anything should go through this device. Otherwise, your purpose is not served. And second thing, you are going to remove the bubble.
Yes,
yes.
That's
tubing connection.
I am also giving clue.
Yes,
tubing
connection. Yeah.
This is what I have understood by name the two most important precautions while inserting this device. About means we have to talk about this device.
Yes, sir. So,
about the procedure. If someone is asking you about the procedure, means what are the two important things you will, then you might talk about whatever you have said, that position should be proper and all this. But because you do everything perfectly, but if there is a small
bubble.
either you have nicked it, then it is totally gone, and second, the purpose is lost. And second thing, if there is a bubble,
Yes.
then it will not function.
And
Correct.
so actually in the book, the point was also the second precaution was absolute sterility
And sterility,
In
correct.
prevention of
because it's a
infections.
prosthesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of care has to be taken in that. That's
So that is why I have seen Dr. Rubin Shah, and the same thing I do practice in my putting implant. Continuously, he takes that betadine and
So 5 washes.
gentamicin solution and keeps on, flushing the device. Not flushing the device, but from the outside. He keeps on and flushing the wound continuously. I have seen that. Probably that helps. Correct. You are right.
Okay. Sir.
okay, sir. Is that okay? Any questions, sir? More questions? Anything specific?
Pankaj bhai?
No, sir. I think that's fair.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
Archan, this is your next slide.
Yeah. No,
I have forgotten to put questions. My
should I
bad.
just answer? Yeah.
So
Sir,
let
can you
them
just
ask
ask?
Viva.
Okay,
Sir, you
okay.
can ask Viva. I'm sorry.
Okay, sir.
Gaurangsha sir and
Yeah,
Geeta sir and
yeah.
Pankaj
Should I just
sir.
tell what these are?
Pick for number one.
Yes, sir.
Name the thing device. What is
Yes,
it?
sir. So these two
All the
are,
different parts. So I want you to tell everything.
yes, sir. So these two are types of midi-urethral slings. What has been given on the left side of my screen is the tension-free vaginal tape. On the right side is the tension-free vaginal tape of the transobturator type.
Hmm.
That is because of the flange of the instrument. That gives me an idea.
Hmm.
On the left side, first I'll describe the TVT tape. In the TVT tape,
Just
you have,
tell us the parts. Tell us the parts. What are these?
I put the pointer. You tell. Okay, what is this?
that is the obturator. That is the trocar fitted with the obturator attached to the tape.
Okay. Then what is this?
That is the tape.
Okay.
That is the tape.
And in this
That is those are flanges on which have a pass. Those are flanges on which a passer is attached, and along with that, with a particular curve, that TVTO is inserted into the space.
So the first one is
TVT, sir.
TVT, and second is
TVTO.
T.
VTO, tension-free
TO.
vaginal tape transobturator.
So we call it TOT.
Yeah, TOT. sir.
Transobturator tube.
Yes.
Okay. And which one is on the second side, right hand side? Which one is the right one and which one is the left handle?
Sir, it is the opposite, because you pass it through the opposite side. You hold it in the dominant hand. The
You tell me
one that is shown on
you
the
can see on the screen.
yes, sir. The one that Tanvi is pointing will go into the right side of the patient. Yes, sir. Right side of the patient. It will go inside the right side of the patient.
Okay.
So because you hold it and then you push it through. So in the TVTO, that will go into the right side of the patient.
I think
Here it is little because the curve is not.
It will go, sir. If you hold it, sir, it will go to the right.
Yeah. Here it is.
Sir, if you go inside out, sir, when you are using the inside out approach, sir, again, that is different because some people do it outside and some people do it inside out. When you are using the inside out approach, the one that is there on the right side will go onto the right side of the patient.
Okay, and on the left hand side, the first one on your left hand side of your screen, which one is right and which one is left?
Sir, that one will go towards the right side.
it doesn't matter, sir.
Doesn't matter.
Sir, yes, sir, because the trocar.
TVT, it doesn't matter.
Yes, sir, it doesn't matter. Yes.
TVT, it doesn't matter. That is why, okay, we have the one handle and one trocar, and I'm using it again and again for so many cases.
Yeah.
So there is no need. Okay, tell the material.
Sir, nowadays the newest material that is used is polypropylene mesh with a mesh pore size of greater than 75 micron, because that is AMIT type 1. That is ideal now, used in all newer meshes, all the ones that are proprietarily available, because the older ones were causing infection. Nowadays there is polypropylene 25 micron meshes.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Okay, now what are the important on the left hand side? What precaution you will take?
So precautions I will be taking.
Can you just tell us can you enumerate
steps?
important steps of TVT?
Yes, sir. So first of all, I'd like to put the patient in spinal anesthesia. I'll put the patient in high lithotomy position. Sir, I'll be describing this for the TVT.
Okay.
Then after that, I'll make sure I'll put a 18 French catheter, and I'll after putting the patient, I'll give the patient local anesthesia. By local anesthesia, I'll be raising I'll be doing hydrodistension of the space between the urethra and the vagina. I'll be putting an 18 French catheter. After I'll put a small 1 to 1.5 centimeter incision in that region, and with a measure-mount Caesar, I'll just increase the incision. Along with that, at the top, I'll also make sure that I insert about 20 cc of anesthesia, about 2.5 centimeter on either side of the midline. Following that, I'll put the sheath on, I'll put the trocar and the sheath together, and then I'll pass it. When I'm passing it with my dominant hand, I'll be making sure that my pressure goes on one side of the pubic bone. There is a passer that goes through the catheter, and I can use it to just shift the bladder on one side so that I make sure that the bladder does not get injured. After this, I'll pass it through, and after that, I can put a small skin incision as it is coming out through the retropubic space. I'll repeat the procedure on the opposite side. After I'm done with this procedure, as I remove the flanges, I'll just make sure some part of the plastic tape is coming outside. That I'll remove. I'll close the skin incision. I'll then close the incision that is between the vagina and the urethra, and I'll do a cystoscopy, preferably by a 70 French, by a 70-degree scope, to see if there is any injury that I have caused to the bladder. That would be it, sir.
So,
just in short.
So if there is an injury, what you will do?
Sir, if there is a small injury, I'll just replace the tape.
So again,
sir,
you will open up the wound?
Sir, I'll just replace it. I'll remove the tape at that time. Sir, depending on how much the injury is.
When you will do cystoscopy? When you will do cystoscopy?
Sir, after I have gone through, sir, I'll keep my cystoscope alongside, and both the steps, whenever I'm going through, when I think
before pulling the tape totally.
Yes, sir. Before pulling the tape, yes, sir.
Just by putting many people just put a trocar and then they do a cystoscopy, because once you remove that sheath, then the purpose is lost. In this case, if it is a plain tape, then there is no problem.
Yes.
Okay, but you cannot suture.
Yes, sir.
Before closing down, only you have to confirm.
Yes, sir.
And another thing is the introducer is available, that catheter introducer, and with that you can
shift the bladder.
But otherwise, what we do is we take the male. So I'll tell you the important steps. What we do is we put the Foley's catheter. Why we put the Foley's catheter? For two reasons. We empty the bladder. Second thing is you inflate balloon and you gently pull it. When you pull it, you know where is the bladder neck. So you know what is where is the mid urethra. You understand? The purpose of putting catheter is to find out where is the mid urethra, because where the balloon will, when you pull it and when you fill the balloon, it is a bladder neck.
Yes.
So from external meatus to balloon, there is a urethra. So in between, it's a mid urethra. Then, as you said, we'll make a cut, and you'll make a space on either side of the urethra. That is a paraurethral space.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you will go behind the pubic symphysis.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you will mark out with the artery forceps where you are reaching.
Yes.
And then you will put this trocar. And after putting a trocar, many people, or after putting a tape, if this trocar is reusable, then you can put the tape also. You do cystoscopy, you see if it has gone through bladder, then you remove it and you again pass it. Now, before doing this, we put the male dilator, removing the Foley's catheter, and we deflect. So if you are putting it on the right hand side of the patient, you deflect bladder on the opposite side.
Yes.
So same thing you do it. You understand? So these are the important things. Now, if you have gone through a bladder, and when you remove, how many holes will be there?
So 2 holes. So depends on how much inflated the bladder was and how badly we went through. Sometimes it just grazes the bladder, and if it is very bad, it can also cause 2 holes inside the bladder. Or if it is very adjacent, it will cause a single hole where the tape is going through.
Okay. So how many times, you will go through bladder and then you will stop your procedure? If you injure the bladder,
yes, sir,
you will reinsert it, right?
Yes, sir.
So suppose second time also if you go through bladder, what will do?
Sir, if there is an obvious leak out of the bladder, then I'll look at abandoning the procedure. So the number of holes, sir, I don't know. The number of times attempts.
Usually if you go 2 times,
Yes. Okay.
then third time you should not try. And you just leave it there. Because then there are chances that you may damage bladder more and then there will be a persistent leak.
Okay.
Sir, Dr. Venkat Chaitanya wants to say something.
Yeah,
So I'm going to unmute him.
unmute him.
Sir,
Hi,
good evening. I am
Good evening,
Venkat,
Chaitanya.
finally, sir, IKDRC Ahmedabad.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Follow.
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding the left side TVT, sir, I have a
Yeah.
slightly different opinion. I just wanted to clarify that. That's all. So I wanted to speak.
Yes, yes, tell us.
Regarding the left side, sir, it is a mid-urethral sling and which is inserted through the retropubic approach, sir. I don't think it is a TVT because we place TVT at bladder neck, as you said, and we place mid-urethral sling at the mid-urethra. So both are MUS, sir, but the left one is the retropubic approach and the right side is the transoperator approach.
Yes,
I think
TVT is a brand name, Venkat. TVT is now TVT comes from
For a
mid-urethral.
mid-urethral.
Yeah, a mid-urethral sling is also a TVT. TVT
Uh,
does not
yeah.
necessarily mean that it goes to the bladder neck.
I will tell you initially
So Venkat,
yes, sir.
please tell me what is the principle of TVT and what is the principle of TOT. Forget the name.
TOT, we go through the operator membrane, sir, and we has the
I am asking the mechanism of action oblique principle of placing the TOT.
we stabilize the posterior surface of urethra. We make it fixed, sir, such that the support, the hammock hypothesis will be maintained.
Yeah. So here in TOT, we are creating the hammock supporting the urethra.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And it is purely a perineal and transverse.
Okay, sir.
In TVT, we are creating a condition like dynamic kinking of the mid urethra at stress. Whenever there is a stress, there is a dynamic kinking of the mid urethra.
Okay, sir. Okay.
See, I will Venkat, I will tell you one thing.
That is
Doctor-
caused by the restoring the pubourethral ligament as well as suburethral vaginal wall.
Okay,
In
sir.
TVT, restoring the pubourethral ligament and suburethral vaginal wall leads to dynamic kinking of mid urethra is the mechanism of action of TVT.
TVT. Okay,
And
sir.
mechanism of action of TOT is it is just creating a hammock supporting the urethra. That it is purely perineal and transverse. But
Yes, sir.
TVT can be applicable to both. What that the person who is answering is telling is correct.
Okay.
Okay, Venkat, Dr. Ajay Rane, who was one of the pioneer in doing this research work with Johnson and Johnson. Okay, so initially they were putting it, as you are saying, as a bladder neck. And if you go to see all surgery, open surgeries, they were oriented towards the bladder neck.
Okay, sir.
Okay, whether
Yes.
you MMK see or any other repair if you see, okay, they were doing it bladder neck.
Okay,
But
sir.
then they did a research and they found out it is not a bladder neck. It is because of the anterior and posterior urethra which are
Correct.
sliding on each other. That is the cause of this. So they are stabilizing mid urethra. So
Okay,
this
sir.
And
TVT started with that. So Rane had come and told us that initially they were putting at bladder neck. Okay, they about 15 years back, I probably they did one of the first case in at Kisandas Hospital. So that
Okay.
time they showed us, and he showed us where to put it. It is at the mid urethra.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
and another issue is there is near about reported complication rate of bladder injury in TVT is near about 5 to 6%. If you
In TBT, it is going up to 20%, 20
the
to 25.
procedure, what we were doing or what we have taught is one person is sitting inside, by keeping the scope inside the bladder, continuously observing the procedure from inside.
Okay, sir.
If another person is placing that needle,
Okay.
if it is compressing the wall or if it is piercing the wall, the person who is seeing will guide him to change the direction,
Okay, sir.
so
Yes,
that
sir.
the injury should be very minimum. And whatever we have placed are up to this time, probably near about 30-40. So no bladder injury. But reported incidence of bladder injury is near about 5.4%, 5 to 6%.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Venkat. We really appreciate, but telling us about the difference between the two. We had a good discussion in the process.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
And
now,
next time, please volunteer to answer for the Viva also.
Okay.
now the last question.
Yes, sir.
In TOT, do you need to do cystoscopy?
Yes, sir. So we do. Sometimes inadvertently, if the bladder is a little full, you can still injure the bladder. So we do it every time.
So gynecologists love to do TOT and they don't do cystoscopy.
So we
Okay.
do it. So yeah, okay. Sir.
Yeah. Now, what is the purpose of doing cystoscopy? As a
So again,
urologist, you tell me.
So the principle is the same, to make sure that the
To
bladder
see
does not
that
get
whether
injured.
bladder is injured or not. Second,
Sir, also you can look at the coaptation of the urethra after the procedure has been done.
you don't want patient has the symptoms. You don't want to rule out anything in the bladder.
Yes, sir. So we could. So if the patient
See,
has
it has
urgency,
been found out that about 15% of the patients who has got all this problem, they also have got associated cystitis. Okay. So it is always better. It is not mandatory, but it is
Yes.
always better to do cystoscopy
Okay, sir.
and to find out whether there is any vesical pathology or not.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, Tanvi, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Any questions from Pankaj Maheshwari,
Pankaj
sir?
bhai?
Sir?
Dr. Pankaj? I think he's muted.
Muted है क्या? देखो.
Oh, sorry. Can you make Pankaj sir the co-host?
I'll make
So
it.
that
Yeah, I'll do it. One second.
anyway, Tejas is there.
Yeah, I'll mute myself. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Archana, can you mute yourself? Dr. Tejas? Okay, sir, Tejas is there, but he had messaged me that he might be a little late. So to keep him last,
Okay.
so I'll just take
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry for.
Okay, Tejas.
No problem. If you are busy, we can take you last, huh?
It would be better if it is possible.
No problem. So Dr. Gaurav,
Yes.
you're there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So Gaurav is from Kolkata,
Yeah.
and this is your first slide. Gaurav,
Yeah. Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
So spot the diagnosis. I will give you a hint. This is patient has undergone a LSCS surgery, and this is urine.
Okay.
And what is this? Is what you need to diagnose.
Okay. So this is the feeding tube which is coming.
What are the possibilities which require the urinary diversion while doing the LSTS? That will answer our question.
Intraoperatively, they might injury of ureteric injury, which will leads to require large segment injury, which will require the urinary diversion.
Okay.
And
Yes. So spot the diagnosis.
Mainly
You are saying that yes, probably.
ureteric injury, sir. Ureteric
And
injury.
they put an infant feeding tube.
Infant feeding tube through the upper non-damaged part of upper ureter, sir. And they externalize the ureter.
So it's called a ureterostomy, I suppose. Right?
Okay. It is the ureter has nephrostomy, like ureterostomy. You can say it is ureterostomy.
Okay, sir.
Cutaneous ureterostomy.
Yeah. to spot the diagnosis. Okay, mention intra of precautions to prevent this complication.
Sir, intraoperatively during a hysterectomy, we have to keep the near majority chances of ureteric injury during at the pelvic brim. At the time where the infundibulopelvic ligament ureter will be the medially to it. So during dissection, we have to keep the dissection lateral to the lateral pelvic wall and near the uterus where the ureter is under the uterine artery. We have to keep the precaution during the injury to the ureteric injury during the ligation of the uterine artery.
So what precaution they have to take? They have to be as close as to the
uterus, as close as uterus in the lower part and laterally in the infundibulopelvic ligament, laterally to the pelvic wall, near pelvic brim, sir.
How will you diagnose this complication post-op?
Post-operatively.
Post-operatively, patient might having a complaint of a fever, flank pain, and increase in total count, and patient also chances of signs of the peritonitis.
Yes, and you can go further and say how will the investigation be post-operatively if such a situation has occurred?
So how will you diagnose? How will you diagnose?
Sir, post-operatively, if we are suspecting a ureteric injury, then we will go for a basic ultrasonography to see any collection and adenoma presence or not, and we will do a contrast study to look whether what is the level of injury, and is there a continuity between the ureteric present or not, continuation, and after the diagnosis, first of for the intervention, we will do a cystoscopic assessment and do RGP to look where exact the location of the injury, and it is a complete transaction or some dye going upwards to the ureter or not. If dye is going upwards, then we will try to negotiate with the DJ stent itself, and if it is not going, then sir, we have to if it is within 3 days, then we will explore the patient and do the surgery according to the level of injury and the segment of loss. And if it is more than 3 days, then we will keep the nephrostomy. We will put the nephrostomy, and we will do stage repair later on. And if it is in the lower segment, then the available management will be the ureteroneocystostomy. And if it is in the mid-ureteric level, or if the viable segment, we will devitalized segment will be removed, and if it is possible, we will do ureterostomy. And if it is not possible or it is under tension, then we will need to do renal descent or psoas stitch and to tension-free anastomosis.
You want to go properly from below upwards.
Go very systematic.
Like if you want, I can give you the scenario. Suppose
first of all, let me tell everyone. Now, for example, what is a nephrostomy? When you do, someone has asked about the ureterostomy. So when you do nephrostomy, you are not going to bring out the kidney. From outside also, we put a nephrostomy. Okay. So same way, if you are not pulling out the ureter also, but if you put this feeding tube inside, okay, you are draining the ureter. I think it is, you can call it ureterostomy.
It is tube ureterostomy.
Tube ureterostomy.
Tube ureterostomy.
Yeah, like suprapubic cystostomy. You are doing. You are not bringing the bladder out.
To the skin. Yes.
Okay. So that is one thing. So now I want you to go very systematically. You are going very haphazardly. So you start from which are the different surgeries you like to do. So as you said, first you will do in emergency, if it's possible, if you will do cystoscopy and pass the guide wire, if it goes, then you will do digestion. Correct?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
sir.
What else now? Just tell me, enumerate.
Sir, for lower ureteric segment injury, available option is a ureteroneocystostomy.
Okay.
For lower ureteric segment.
Okay. If there is a tension, what you will do?
If there is tension, then we have to do a renal descent.
No. If there is a tension, first
we will do the psoas stitch.
Psoas stitch. Very
psoas stitch. For that, we have to ligate the opposite side superior vesical pedicle. And for mid ureteric injury, we will do, sir, ureterostomy. And in this also, if there is tension,
if you are not able to do the new ureterostomy or vasacostomy, what will do? Wherever the injury is, you are not able to do it. Now what will do?
Then, sir, we will do psoas, sir.
So psoas also you are not able to do it. Then,
sir, further we will go for a Bovary flap, sir.
Yeah, so don't say only for the middle ureter. Okay?
Yeah.
So step by step,
Okay,
you will do the Bovary flap.
Bovary flap, sir.
Okay. Till what level you can take it?
Bovary flap, sir, maximum diameter, long length is 12 to 15 centimeter. We can mobilize, we can fill the gap.
Okay, so if you can't do Bovary flap, what will do?
Then, sir, option will be the ileal ureter or transureterostomy, transureterostomy, or the auto transplantation, sir.
Okay. So go very systematically. Okay.
Yes.
So if you go very systematically, because you don't have so much of time, right? So in that case, even if you miss something, right? But you have said all important procedures, the examiner will not stop you.
Okay, sir.
Huh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can we all are unmuted, na?
Yes, sir. Ajay Oswal, sir. We have today with us Dr. Sharma, sir.
Okay, very good.
Also.
Very good.
Narendra.
Okay.
Evening, everybody.
Yes. You can also ask questions.
Please enumerate the contraindications of Bovary flap.
Small contracted bladder.
Correct.
And, contracted bladder, sir.
What else?
Sir, you want to just teach him, because I think Gaurav is not knowing anymore. Gite sir,
Yes, sir, you want to say? Oswal?
Post radiation is a contraindication. Commonly, what is previous pelvic radiation is absolute contraindication.
Yes.
Bladder malignancy is another contraindication.
Yeah. A small capacity bladder, previous pelvic radiation, bladder malignancy is all clear.
Thank you. So, what are lighted ureteral stents? If you know it, that just tell us something, and I'll show you a video just for the sake of
So what are lighted ureteral stent? You tell us.
Lighted ureteral stent, sir, it is put preoperatively to see when during the surgery we can see the ureteric proper course, but it is not study showing that it is not going to decrease the chances of intraoperative ureteric injuries, but it just identify the ureteric injury.
Yes.
Can you see this video?
Yes.
You can see.
The side it's not flickering much.
It will.
Yeah, it will.
We have to show it to you.
Can you see
30
this?
centimeter is the full length.
Yes.
So beautiful.
That is the left side. This
Now
is
you
the
can see the other side.
right.
Yeah.
Because it was quite far
Yeah.
away, you could not see.
Okay.
It was out.
Yeah. That's it. Sorry, sir. You can continue.
Yes. So what are the lighted ureteral stent? Very simple. And what are the uses?
Uses, sir, you get lighted ureteral stent, which is just like showing in the video, sir, and uses it's to identify the early to prevent the ureteric injuries and intraoperatively, and to identify the ureteric injury early, sir.
So when you will do it?
Sir, before doing surgery, we will put by cystoscope before any pelvic surgery, sir. We will put a ureteric stent, lighted ureteric
So
stent.
what is an absolute indication? In every case, you will do it.
So patient of pelvic endometriosis, uterine endometriosis, where there is a high chances of adhesion near the ureter, and so it will be useful for that cases, sir. Not in each and every cases.
Exactly. So when the CT scan is done earlier and it is showing that ureter is also from outside, it is involved. Okay, and you are worried about injury to the ureter and you want to save it. That is the time you will put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And mainly it is in the laparoscopic surgery.
Yes, sir.
Because in open surgery you can palpate it also if you are putting the ureteric stent.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we?
Is that okay? Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gaurav, this is your next slide. Tamsulosin
Okay.
hydrochloride, 0.4 milligram. Mention the mechanism of action of this drug with respect to benign prostatic hyperplasia.
Sir, it is a alpha-1 blocker. It specifically acts as a alpha-1A receptor, and which is majority time situated in the bladder neck. So by blocking this alpha-1,
BPH.
yes, it is also the alpha-1A receptor antagonist, and which is situated at bladder neck and a prostatic smooth muscle. By relieving the dynamic obstruction, it will improve the flow.
Yes, sir. I think the examiners want that word dynamic, if I'm not mistaken.
You have to say, huh?
Yes, sir.
There are
Dynamic
two
obstruction.
obstructions, yes.
Dynamic and static. Yes, sir.
What is used for static component?
Dutasteride is used for a static component.
Okay. What are the indications of this drug? To use this drug?
Benign prostatic enlargement with IPS score more than 7, and it is also useful for medical exposure therapy for a lower ureteric stone, which is a 5 to less than 5 mm stone, sir, for medical exposure therapy.
So,
can you please repeat what is the indication of medical expensive therapy?
Sir, lower ureteric stone, which is less than 5 mm, we can use for a medical exposure therapy.
No, it is indicated for stones larger than 5 millimeter. Stones up till 5 millimeter have a possibility of passing out on their own.
Exactly. Okay. What is internal luminal diameter of ureter?
Internal luminal diameter is 2 to 4 mm.
4 to 6 mm.
4 to 6. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So up to 5 to 6 millimeter stone, they will pass spontaneously, na? And credit will goes to all the person, tablets, babas, doctors, everyone. Near about 80% stone which is less than 5 millimeter or 6 millimeter, they pass spontaneously, and that goes again up to 90% when they are in lower ureter. Okay, so again the question remains is what is the indication of medical expensive therapy?
Lower ureteric stone which is more than 5 mm, sir.
Up to
5 to 10 mm, 5 to 10.
So to answer this question, you must know, okay, if the stone is in the upper ureter, if stone is in the mid ureter, if stone is in the lower ureter, if stone is more than 5 millimeter to 1 centimeter, what are the success rate? वो अगर पता है तो आंसर कर सकते हैं.
The exact success rate, sir, I don't know.
Pankaj sir, opinion.
Yeah, absolutely right. These will be the factors which will decide whether we put the patient on medical management. So the narrowest portion of the ureter is at the UV junction. The diameter of UV junction is around 3 millimeters. So stones up to 5 to 6 millimeters have a propensity to pass out. Medical expulsive therapy would be used only for stones larger than this. As per the newer guidelines, stones up till 10 millimeter can be treated by conservative management. That means by expectant treatment. So stones up till 10 millimeter you could try with MET. So MET will be used for lower ureteric stones larger than 5 millimeter, and MET is also used post ESWL for fragment clearance.
Exactly, and provided that the patient should not have severe proximal severe hydronephrosis, patient should not have signs of sepsis. These are the some contraindications.
So the three contraindications will be patients with reduced renal function, patients
Correct.
with significant obstruction, and patient with infection.
Exactly.
Here you just need to add one thing to whatever sir has said, that its role is mainly in the lower ureteric stone. Because Gite sir asked about upper and mid ureteric stones, so there are no alpha blockers there. Basically, it is for the lower ureteric stones. And what studies are shown is 60% chance of 6 millimeter stones clearing in the lower ureter, 50% in mid ureter, and 40% as it goes to upper ureter.
Yes.
So now the next question which has come up in the chat box is, how many days would you try medical management or medical explosive therapy?
Sir, for approximately 10 to 14 days, sir.
And how do we come to this conclusion of 10 to 14 days?
So we will give 2 weeks of medical explosive therapy, and we will counseling the patient if there is a if there is in between patient is having an increased duration of the pain or patient is having fever, then we have to intervene, sir.
You see, these would be absolute indications of intervention. So pain which doesn't respond to regular treatment or infection are absolute indications for intervention. So MET will be given only in patients who don't have these two features. Maximum you can try conservative management is up to 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. But you would reassess the patients every 2 weeks to see for movement of the stone. Suppose you started with the stone at X place and at the end of 2 weeks it hasn't moved. Then probably the chance of it coming out waiting further is very less. But if over 2 weeks you see a movement of the stone and patient does not have any other indication for intervention, you can wait further.
Here you have to mention that patient should be compliant, patient should agree to follow up, and at any given point of time, he's ready for intervention. Provided he understands these things, you can go ahead and follow him up for 4 to 6 weeks.
So other than tamsulosin, what are the other drugs which are advised for as medical explosive therapy?
Sir, other nifedipine can be used, and along with nifedipine and another, sir, tamsulosin combination with deflazacort can be also used.
Okay, anything else?
Anything else?
And so nowadays, silodosin is also shown for
So there is
using
alpha
in
blocker,
the.
you are saying. Yes.
So alpha blockers, calcium channel blockers, steroids, and PDE5 inhibitors.
And there is one study which shows even the serosopeptidase that also has got.
But the comparative studies have shown that in comparison to alpha blockers, the results of steroid as well as calcium channel blockers are not very good. So for all practical purposes, alpha blocker is the only drug which is approved for MET.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So now I just want to say indications of use. Dr. Maheshwari has added one. So please say about benign prostatic hyperplasia as well as the stone at the lower end of the lower one third of the ureter, which is between the size of, as you say, 5 to 10, and there is no other contraindication. And the third, the most important is what he said is that after ESWL. So please include this also. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
the absolute contraindication, as Dr. Gite and Maheshwari has said, what are the contraindications? One is that hydronephrosis, decreased function, infection, extravasation. If there is any extravasation of urine, so all these things you have to please. Okay. Specific complication of this drug.
Sir,
Madam, sir, we can't hear you properly, sir.
You can't hear me?
No, sir. You're very.
Okay. So indications of use, please add ESWL, post ESWL. That is one.
Yes, sir.
And the contraindications of not using is infection, total obstruction, hydronephrosis, reduced function, and even if there is extravasation of urine.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes. Okay. So these are the very important things.
Okay. What is the T half of tamsulosin, silodosin, and alfuzosin?
TF of tamsulosin is around 10 to 12 hours, and silodosin is also similar, 8 to 10 hours, and alfuzosin is 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, silodosin is the most long acting. I think, sir, isn't it 13 and plus or minus 8 hours, right?
Maheshwari, can you?
No, I don't remember this.
Oswal, sir?
No, sir.
Dr. Oswal?
I read it.
Okay.
Silodosin has the longest half-life, but tamsulosin and silodosin are almost similar, and alfuzosin is very short acting. That is 6 to 8 hours only.
Oh.
Any specific complication that you can think of related to tamsulosin?
First dose hypotension, and another is dizziness and asthenesia, and specifically another is for intraoperatively floppy iris syndrome. And tamsulosin user.
Most important. Most of the patients, if you are sitting in your clinic and if you are using silodosin, tamsulosin, most of the patients they will telephone you. Nowadays we are getting maximum calls about this complication after silodosin. What is
retrograde ejaculation?
Earlier it was called retrograde ejaculation. Now it is called what?
Anejaculation.
Anejaculation. What is the difference between two?
Sir, retrograde ejaculation, which a patient will be complaining of post-micturition, passing semen along with the urination in retrograde ejaculation, and ejaculation is the absence of ejaculation.
Okay, so please remember, nowadays it is not retrograde ejaculation, it is anejaculation.
And do you know anything about the MTOPS trial?
So it is a medical therapy of prostatic symptom. It is done at around they had 4 arms. One is a placebo arm, one other is a alpha blocker in the form of, I think, terazosin arm, and another is a finasteride arm, and another is combination of the arm. And they are found that combination therapy, which is leads to decreased progression of a lower nitric symptom as well as need of surgery, sir. And they mention the progression criteria by mentioning that they are mentioned the progression by following definition. If it is a IPSS score is increased for 4 in the month, and the patient is having a 2 episode of UTI or 1 episode of urosepsis, and a patient is having a socially unacceptable incontinence, or a patient is having episode of retention and more than 50% rise of the creatinine from the baseline, then the definition of progression has been taken in this study, sir.
Okay.
Sir, is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
And just for your information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is just for your information. Combat trial versus the MTOPS trial. Only thing I think the drugs you said were not correct. Combat was tamsulosin with dutasteride, and MTOPS was finasteride with doxazosin, I think.
Okay.
But I think that's okay. And okay, I think Gaurav.
Archan knows. Archan must be knowing all these things.
I've put it up, sir.
Hey, you are right.
I've taken it from the net only, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Only thing is, combat trial not only did it show improvement in IPSS, it also showed a decrease in the risk of acute urinary retention as well as in the decrease in the incidence of requiring surgery. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Paras, thank you, Tej. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you, sir.
That was you answered very well. And now we have Paras from Jaslo. Paras.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Paras.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we
Paras,
can.
you are not very clearly audible.
Thank you.
You are. Can you speak louder or?
Paras, just talk a little louder.
Yes, sir. Questions,
Okay.
please.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. Identify the procedure that has been done.
This is peritoneal catheter for peritoneal dialysis.
What is the short form?
continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, CAPD.
CAPD. Very good.
Okay. Mention other modalities of treatment for this
Uh,
condition.
This is the treatment for CKD patient, chronic kidney disease patient, and other modalities include the
This
hemodialysis.
is for CKD.
Yes, sir, it is for CKD's
It is for
chronic
CKD. If the
chronic
creatinine is to 1.8, patient has got CKD. Will you do it?
it is end-stage renal disease.
So please be specific. Don't say CKD.
Yes, sir. It is for end-stage renal disease, and the other modalities which are used for end-stage renal disease, including the hemodialysis, hemofiltration, hemodiafiltrations, and peritoneal dialysis, which include the continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis.
And
There we have, sir, other nocturnal
and what is else? What is the last thing?
Sir, then the definite treatment including the renal transplant or renal replacement therapy, we include in the form of renal transplant.
So I think if it is a mention other modalities of treatment for this condition is what end-stage renal disease. So I think, according to me, you should also talk about transplant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And actually, the question was if you can just tell us what are the different ways of doing hemodialysis?
Hemodialysis?
Yeah.
Yes, there are different ways.
Hemodialysis. There are. It is divided into different steps. First is the assess. How will we assess for the hemodialysis? It is either in the form of AV fistulas or in the form of catheter in the subclavian vein or
So
internal.
say temporary and permanent.
Yes, sir.
So what are the temporary one?
Temporary one are the catheters in the form of internal jugular vein catheters, and permanent in the form of AV fistulas, arteriovenous fistulas.
What about the pump cath?
Pump cath is it is both.
What about graft? What about pump?
Yes, sir. Sir, grafts is also considered in the.
So say temporary. Tell us about temporary. What are the different ways?
So temporary is IVC catheter, pump cath. These are the two temporary methods.
So temporary. Access from where?
That it is the access from the either from the internal jugular vein or the subclavian vein,
Or
and it is done under image guidance.
or third one?
Third one from the sir. Femoral, sir, but femoral is now rarely used because every patient is evaluated for the prospective renal transplant. So
but there are so many patients who all the veins are getting fired. They don't have veins. They can't do AV fistula. They can't afford transplant, and so they keep on doing femoral. And there are not only that. The small places, people are not well versed with doing subclavian or internal jugular, and they put directly into the femoral. So we are talking about the places where we are working. But India is not Mumbai. India is not Bangalore. So,
Dr. Paras is correct in saying that femoral catheter should not be used.
Yeah. That is okay. We are not talking about this thing, marriage, demerits. But here, because the problem is we are not sure what they want in OSCE. Okay.
Agreed. Temporary access sites are internal jugular, femoral, and subclavian. Contraindication is always femoral, but majority at peripheral place that is easily placed access, and anybody can do it.
Now if this question is asked and they and they have to just answer only the question they have to answer. Okay, there is no justification. And if he doesn't write and that examiner wants femoral also, one of the access, then they will failing. So that is what we don't want. We don't know how this OSCE is going to work.
Paras,
yes, sir.
I wanted to add some correction to your concept. See, renal transplant is not the only form of renal replacement therapy. This whole gamut of vascular access, hemodialysis, peritoneal access, CAPD,
and renal transplant. All these three modalities are renal replacement therapies, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And ESRD is the last stage when every function of the kidney is shut down. That is not the only time we start dialysis. We start dialysis much earlier at stage CKD stage 3 or stage 4. Rather than staging, we start dialysis. Remember few things. You remember vowel sounds A, I, O, U, E, A, E, I, O, U,
Yes, sir.
acidosis,
Okay.
electrolytes imbalance,
Okay.
overload of fluid or volume overload,
Yes, sir.
and uremia.
Okay, sir. That's really helpful, sir. Thank you so much.
तो इतना सब इंडिकेशन है डायलिसिस का. उसमें ESRD तो एब्सोल्यूट इंडिकेशन है when but we start dialysis quite early.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Very well said, Ajay.
Okay, Paras, what are the advantages and disadvantages or other merits and demerits of CAPD?
First, I am talking about the merits. It can
Yeah.
be done at home without any specific requirements. Second, it can be it is a benefit in favor of quality of life. Third, the third merit, which is most important, is less hospitalization or less requirement of the hospitalization for dialysis. Fourth, the quality of life in the form of muscle aches, hypotensions are very less in cases of CAPD as compared to the hemodialysis. The demerits demerits include the it is required more frequently. Third, chances of peritonitis is much more, and infection complication, and then malfunctioning of the catheter is there, and which lead to the failure of the dialysis and the persistent of the symptoms.
And I think
Just tell me, and I want to ask him, when you will not do?
Sir, I will not do in cases of when there is a peritonitis already there. Second, there is a large space which lead to a large open spaces which lead to the leakage of the fluids, like in the diaphragmatic hernias or the large inguinal hernias, which is open and lead to the leakage of the fluid.
there's a lot of disturbance. We can't. Okay. Paras.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Specifically, when we have a different peritonitis, we are not going to use the
I just can't hear Paras. I don't know whether the audio is very, very poor.
Yeah, Paras, we can't hear you properly suddenly.
Sir, can I repeat, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, the contraindications.
Are you using headphone?
Yes, sir, I am using headphones, sir.
So then remove the headphone and again try.
Lot of background noise. Sir, now it is clear, sir?
Yeah,
Hello?
kind of. Yeah, better.
So, sir, the contraindication of CAPD, including the peritonitis, large intraabdominal hernias, bowel obstructions, and sepsis. These are the specific contraindications for the.
If the patient has got a fungal infection on the skin,
Yes, sir, fungal infection on the skin, even if the ascites fluid is positive for fungal infection as Staph aureus is a strict contraindications for the CAPD catheter and peritoneal dialysis, sir.
and if there are multiple scars,
Sir, multiple scars, we can go ahead by modifying the procedure in the form of
Paras.
intraabdominal adhesions. Then this is a bit of relative contraindication.
Paras, we can't hear you. There's too much disturbance. Hello?
It is clear.
You remove your headphone and try now. Remove your headphones.
Sir, remove, sir.
Okay, now come near to the speaker and start.
Yes, sir. Sir, now audible, sir?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Sir, contraindications, sir, in cases of, sir, abdominal adhesions, obstructions, these are the also
Start.
contraindications for the CAPD, sir.
Beta, always I'm telling you, start from one end to another end. So start
Yes,
from
sir.
the skin.
From the skin,
Start
sir.
from the skin. It
Yes,
is
sir.
a
From the,
severe fungal infection. You will not like to do it,
sir, fungal
right or wrong?
infection, dermatitis, yes, sir.
Then
Then
second thing
in,
is the multiple scar which you don't have placed, because whenever there is a scar, it is not only adhesions, it is also subcute and everywhere. So it will be very difficult
yes, sir.
to do. I will not like to do it. Then your hernias. Then you talk everything intra-abdominal. So go systematically. Huh?
Yes, sir. Okay, so if the patient has had a history of some sort of laparotomy or some surgery in the past, and if you have to do this procedure, how will you modify the CAPD procedure? What will you do to assist your, or will you do it blindly still?
Blindly, it is not advisable to do blindly in cases of exploratory laparotomy because it might lead to the injury to the bowel. So blindly can be done in the form of Schilder's technique, or but more important, more easier way is to do under laparoscopy guidance,
Correct.
take this from a virgin area and then put a laparoscope, and from that area we can place the catheter, CAPD catheter, and start the peritonitis.
Yes. So are you happy?
Yeah, the main thing is laparoscopy only. That is the most important thing.
So, Maheshwari sir, Vishwas, anybody wants to ask anything more?
Yeah, he has raised a very good and important point that in case of past history of laparotomy, it can be done laparoscopically.
Yeah.
When you do laparoscopically, as Dr. Pankaj had demonstrated in one of his videos, you excise the omentum so that that omentum doesn't wrap around the tip of the CAPD tube.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, Paras, your next slide I will give you last.
Okay.
First, I have to take Tejas because your next slide is in another PPT. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'll unmute you again. Tejas,
Pankaj sir, thank you.
Tejas, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I am
Hi,
unmuted
Tejas,
now.
you're free now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Available.
Just a minute, I'll open your slide. Yeah. So this is a report of urine routine and culture. Just read it.
Okay, so it's the urine analysis of a
Just read it.
62-year-old male,
Yeah.
which is showing the physical examination is showing it is 15 ml in volume. It is pale yellow, hazy, clean catch midstream urine sample, and microscopy examination shows 25 to 30 cells, occasional RBC and epithelial cells, but no parasites, fast crystals. There are budding yeast also, and there is no high T or any bacteria.
Correct. And your culture
On
shows
culture,
no growth
moderate growth
on agar and moderate growth of Candida albicans with budding yeast and germ tube test positive. Colony count 65,000 CFU per ml.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, what components of a urine routine microscopy examination are missing in the above report?
Specific gravity,
Okay.
osmolality, then pH is also missing.
So what are the
Then dipstick analysis,
so if you go systematic physical examination,
protein, blood.
Go to your second MBBS level, first and second.
The blood,
Pure
protein.
physical and chemical examination, and then microscopy. Those things are missing, no?
Yes, sir.
Keto.
Sir, in another ones are the urobilin, like bile pigments are present or not, ketone bodies are present or not, glucose.
You're correct, Tejas, but if you could just quickly
Can you
summarize
just tell
quickly, properly and systematically for all the teachers.
Okay. So,
Yes,
I can
if you
start.
consume more time in these questions, the examiner cannot take you to a higher level. So if you know the answer, finish it off quickly with minimum number of breaths.
It's the end of the exam.
You start with the color. What are the missing? They are asking you. So
the color is
appearance,
actually
color, appearance, odor, all these things you will have to turbidity, whether it is there or not. Then go to the chemical examination. Na? Then
yes, sir. Color is given. Sir, turbidity is also they mentioned hazy.
Yeah.
pH,
pH, specific gravity, the presence of blood, protein, glucose, ketone bodies.
Yes.
Nitrate.
Nitrate and leukocyte esterase.
Bilirubin.
Bile pigments.
Then
squamous cell oblique epithelial cells.
Yes, sir.
So they have mentioned epithelial cells.
Cast crystals.
Yes.
And that is also there.
Okay. Bacteria and yeast.
Yes, sir. Perfect, sir. Thank you, sir.
And some urine report they also said sperms also.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. What is the normal specific gravity of urine?
Normal specific gravity of urine varies from 1.001 to 1.030, depending upon the state of hydration and other factors. But in case of renal failure, either acute or chronic, it is 6 to 1.010.
So anything on specific gravity you all want to ask?
No, it is 1.005 to 1.025. It is very close to the what he says is very close. That can be considered.
Correct, sir. Okay. Now just mention what is significant colony forming units in various conditions. So if Gitesh sir or Gaurang sir, anybody can just give the various conditions. In a normal person, what is significant?
Normally, 10⁵ colony forming units are considered as significant, but that is that arbitrary cutoff is also fraught with many problems, because sometimes if the patient is having frequent urination, then that cutoff might not be met. So in certain, and also if she is or he or she is having excessive hydration, then also it gets diluted. And sometimes the organisms are also very slow growing. The doubling time is very high. So in symptomatic patients, it is recommended that even 10⁵ is significant.
And where else?
And sir, if it is a catheterized specimen, then 10⁵ colony forming unit is also significant.
And if the patient is on antibiotic?
So in antibiotics, I don't know specific guideline for cutoff of patients with
I think it is 10⁵. If it is also there, you have to consider. And if you have taken it suprapubically, then?
Sir, then also it is a very accurate measure of detecting positive culture samples. So 10⁵ will be significant for suprapubic.
And in children?
In children, Tejas?
In children, it is 10⁵ only.
Children, Dr. Maheshwari, can you just tell us? I have my doubts about in children. Because I had once talked to some pediatricians, and they said that even if it is 1000, still they will consider as an infection. And
correct, sir.
Sir, I just have Campbell over here.
Yeah.
Significant bacteriuria in a normal person or CFUs is 10⁵. In women, with symptomatic UTI, 10 raised to 4 is also considered
Yes.
significant.
Yes.
And if there is just a minute, sir.
No, Tanvi, I don't think you are right.
No, sir, please correct me.
Yes. What my reading and what I remember is, you see, 10 raised to 5 is a slightly outdated concept.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If patient is symptomatic, anything more than 10 raised to 2 can be considered as significant.
Okay.
Now, what is most important, I'm sorry, I forgot who is taking this questions.
Tejas.
Tejas, when you are advising urine culture to a patient, what instructions will you give to the patient?
The proper collection of the sample is very important. So we need to, if the patient is male, then I'll ask him to, I'll explain about the midstream sample. I'll ask him to first retract the tissue, clean the gland with soap water, and then discard the first few drops and take the mid sample.
Talk about
in a
female
sterile
also.
container. And
Talk about female also.
in female, sir, female has to retract the labia and clean the vulva, and she also has to discard the first few drops and collect the midstream sample. And
First
this
few
sample
drops?
has to be sent for the lab within 1 hour for analysis. Otherwise, it has to be refrigerated at 4 degrees Celsius.
What is the logic of discarding few drops?
Sir, because that will be contaminated with the urethral flora.
So for that, as per the volume of the urethra, will few drops be enough?
Sir, it will,
How can you
out
collect
the-
few drops? You start micturating and collect few drops. Is it
Initial
possible?
stream, you have to say, because you're saying midstream clean catch sample. Why don't you say initial stream?
Sir, I was about to say.
It has to be a fresh midstream clean catch.
Yeah.
So it should reach the lab within 1 hour. It has to be a midstream sample. When I say midstream, means when the patient is passing urine, he would wait for 10 to 15 seconds. So that means around 50 ml urine should pass, and then 10 to 15 ml is to be collected. For a clean catch in a male, he would retract the foreskin, clean the glands with soap and water. In a lady, you separate the labia and clean the introitus.
Yes, sir.
भाई आदित्य ठाकरे ने क्या बोला है? Now they are going to change all the symbol. You know that, no? On the traffic. Now they are going to put female also. So in exam, if you talk only of one gender, it is not proper. Okay. Right. Okay.
Oswald sir also always says good evening, sir. He never says Tanvi.
Next time we'll have to remember.
Anyway, sir. Okay, mention the different CFU. So, if sir,
Yes,
Pankaj sir, if you could just tell
Maheshwari
us
sir, you are telling what about the children and what about the suprapubic collection?
So suprapubic collection should usually be absolutely sterile. Okay.
Exactly.
So any growth in suprapubic culture will be considered significant. In a urine culture, more than 10 to the power 2 in a symptomatic patient.
See, usually culture it cannot give more than less than 10 raised to 2. So if it culture comes, it will be 10 raised to 2 minimum. So that if comes, so it is positive. So that is suprapubic. And in children?
Anything?
I'm not sure, but I think Gyanendra is there if he can talk about children.
He's unmuted. Sir?
Or Geeta Sahab, you want to say? I'm not sure about kids.
1,000, sir. It is number is 1,000. More than 1,000, it is significant.
So more than to the power 3. Okay.
Whenever I used to take to pediatric nephrologist, I think Mrs. Merchant or someone is there. I remember, she had told me that 10 raised to 3 in children I will consider as an infection.
Correct.
But I don't know whether it is given authentically in the books or not.
And sir, so for in cases of spinal cord injuries,
Sir, it is given in the topic of VO or in pediatric urology.
Okay.
okay, sir. And in cases of bedridden spinal cord injury patients, if patient is on chronic, like PUC or SPC, then any detectable bacteria is significant. If the patient is on CIC, more than 10 raised to 2 is significant. And if patient is not on catheter, 10 raised to 4 is significant. This is what I have. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But this is my notes of Campbell.
You see, what I'm saying is that the minimum level of bacteriuria demonstrating an infection of urinary tract has not been defined in scientific literature.
Correct, sir.
Tabs would define 10 to the power 5, but if you stick to 10 to the power 5, you will miss many relevant infections.
Correct.
Agreed, sir.
A symptomatic patient, you need to take it down.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now another thing is also there. If the bacteria are present and the patient is symptomatic, and even the culture is not showing, you have to give antibiotic.
Yes, sir. And now in this patient, the culture is positive for Candida. So what
How will you manage?
will you manage in this patient?
To be managed. I'll also ask
Yes, an answer,
the patient whether he's having fever, whether he or she is having any fever, whether there are any complicating factors like immunocompromised state, diabetes, recent hospitalization.
Now
And
the question is very simple. If it is showing fungal infection, all the fungal infection, you have to treat or you can just wait.
Sir, actually, it depends upon factors like if there are any complicated factors like immunocompromised state, diabetes. In those cases, it is significant, and especially if the patient is symptomatic. Whether first we have to ask whether the patient is symptomatic or not, and whether he is having a catheterized sample or it is a clean cat mix.
Would you like to do culture?
Catheters are also colonized. Sir, first I would like to see if symptoms are present or not, or whether he is on catheter or not, he or she.
So you divide into asymptomatic, symptomatic, and complicated, correct? If it is asymptomatic, I'm not sure, but what I have read is that you may not treat them. If it is symptomatic, you have to treat, or if complicated means, as you are saying, patient is on immunosuppression, diabetes, catheter, any other internal device, any surgery, urinary surgery, if it is done, then we have to treat it.
Congenital anomalies.
And congenital anomalies. So if I am wrong, please correct me, Dr. Maheshwari, if you can, or Dr. Tanvi.
Yes,
Ajay
sir.
Oswal, I think he is muted.
Okay. I've unmuted him.
Yeah, Dr. Ajay, you want to say something?
You have
Dr. Giting,
everything. No problem.
Okay. Fine. So what I am saying, this is what I had once talked to infectious disease doctor also. So he said he had given a clinic lecture on that. So he had said that if every time you see the fungal infection, absolutely patient is asymptomatic, you must try to give lots of water, hydration, and repeat and see. If it is symptomatic, yes. Okay, I think we should go ahead then.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So fungal infection we will treat, Dr. Sir, only in symptomatic patients, immunocompromised patients, and post-op patients.
Fine. Correct.
And just for knowledge, for Candida, usually the drug of choice is fluconazole, if given.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is your next slide.
Yes.
Tejas?
So this is the
Wait.
CT scan.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a non-contrast CT film. Can you
Or
go
the
back to the
beta,
images?
in Austin,
Tell
I'm telling you, there is a difference between a Viva and Austin.
Okay,
We are
right.
also not aware how they are going to ask. Okay, so please read the what is given. Spot the diagnosis.
Please go back to the images.
Can we
Yeah.
go back to the image?
Yeah.
So this is
Give proper diagnosis. Huh?
emphysematous pyelonephritis on the of the left kidney.
Correct. What's the grading system called? And if you could just quickly tell us the grading system.
Yeah, as per the Huang Chang classification, based on CT scan, it is divided into the 4 categories. Class 1 is air which is present in the cervical system. Second, class 2 is in the parenchyma. Class 3 is extrarenal extension. 3A is perirenal and 3B is pararenal space having air. And the 4 is EPN the emphysematous pyelonephritis in both kidneys or in solitary kidney. That is class 4.
Okay. What are the indications? First of all, if you do, which nuclear scintigraphy will you do in this patient? And what are the indications for
What is the indication?
Sir, indication is, I think in every case, there is an option to have isotope renogram to evaluate the function of the contralateral kidney and the affected kidney, both the split function. And if the creatinine is normal, if there is no overall renal impairment, then we can go for DTPS scan. If there is overall renal impairment, then I will better go for MAG3 scan.
Tanvi, I have really not understood this question well. Now, Tejas, when would emphysematous infection happen?
Sir, it is usually associated with a diabetic patient with immunocompromised state.
Just can you speak a little louder? I'm hard of hearing here.
I will tell you only most important thing is in your practice also. Remember, it is a middle-aged female with a diabetes, usually affecting it on the left-hand side, and it will be associated with the pleural effusion, mild to moderate. These are the 4 things, please remember.
So one of the important thing that is there in EPN is most of these systems are obstructed.
Yes,
so
sir.
the obstruction could be because of, most commonly because of papillary necrosis, or rarely because of stone or any other cause of obstruction. So in obstruction, what is the role of nuclear scan? And this is one of the dire emergencies where your priority is to de-obstruct the patient.
Correct, sir.
Yes, sir.
Or drain the infection. So why would you, and even if it is a functioning kidney and bad EPN, say gas all around the Gerota's fascia escaping right to the subcutaneous planes, then that patient, irrespective of the percentage contribution of that kidney, would require nephrectomy or something like that.
Sir, I agree, but if there is compromised renal function.
That is why
classical diagnostic triangle of obstruction, diabetes, and infection may not present in each and every patient. That is one. Another thing is, patient EPN may be present in diabetic as well as in non-diabetic. System may not be obstructed in each and every time. Sometimes that system may not be obstructed. Non-obstructed system also, patient may have emphysematous pyelonephritis.
See, in emergency,
as far as grading is concerned, so current situation of treatment is always initially try with a minimal invasive treatment in terms of PCN, PCD, or DJ. And reassess after 72 hours. If it is partially responding, continue. If it is not responding, then the emergent nephrectomy, which has again chances of mortality is still high nowadays also if it needs nephrectomy. And if assessment of function is always before, always after the 3 months of the minimal lineage treatment. Before going for if the function is less than delayed nephrectomy. This is total package for emphysematous spinal nephropathy. So minimal lineage, early nephrectomy, delayed nephrectomy.
So that is why this question is asked, that indications of nuclear renal scintigraphy in emphysematous pyelonephritis. What is the role? So that is you have to answer, beta.
Sir, but for counseling and medical legal purpose also it is beneficial.
No, Dr. Oswal told you. See, now you combine Dr. Oswal and Dr. Gite's answer and you tell me very simple thing. What is the indication of nuclear renal scintigraphy? If it is an acute condition, you are going to remove it if his patient is not responding.
Sir,
but the patient has responded, everything has settled down.
Simple questions. Do you want to do DTP or any scan in emergency?
No, sir.
In emergency,
No.
Dr. Mahesh
So
also said, everyone is telling you.
You want to treat the patient. So how you want to treat the patient?
Sir,
You want to treat the patient if it is amount of if it is obstructed, yes or no? If there peri-nephric collection cross mild or severe collection, yes or no? Gas outside the perinephric space, inside the perinephric space, only pericarditis system. According to that, we have to plan it. PCN, PCD, DJ. If it is not responding, go for nephrectomy. Chances of mortality is very high. If it is responding, wait for 3 months, assess with the renal function. Then why there is a need for assessment of the renal function?
Sir, I meant to say that the renal function should be assessed only after stabilization of the patient, after draining of the obstruction.
Also, I want to tell you.
Yeah, sir.
Oh.
First,
So this is what I think. Indication of nuclear renal scintigraphy, you can always say that it is done only in the delayed cases and the patient has responded and we want to find out whether this kidney is, we have to keep it inside, you have to remove. Because I'll tell you, nowadays I am getting so many patients because of this very high antibiotics. Okay.
Sir, during this COVID period, we come across 5 patients of emphysematous pyelonephritis.
Yeah, and with the antibiotics and descending, they improve. But after 4 months, 5 months, when you do all the testing, you come to know that this kidney is not functioning. And patient will have pyuria.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What are the worst prognostic signs in this disease?
The poor prognostic factors are
adverse factors. Adverse factors. If you see a patient and there are certain factors, the prognosis is bad. What are they?
Sir, one is the shock at presentation. If the patient is having thrombocytopenia, hypoalbuminemia, then if there is any immunocompromised state, these are the, and if there is any extensive gas pattern like mottled pattern or sticky pattern, then that is also poor prognosis.
So Tejas, I'll help you in this. Basically, any patient who is either class 1 or class 2 as per your definition, and the adverse prognostic factors are thrombocytopenia, elevated serum creatinine, altered sensorium, and shock. Am I right, sir?
Yes, correct.
Correct. So these are the 4 adverse prognostic factors. If less than 2 of these factors are present, even in class 3 and 4 emphysematous pyelonephritis, you may consider just stenting or PCN, or basically a more conservative approach. If more than 2 factors, high risk factors are present, I think we have to be more aggressive with the surgery, right, sir?
Yes.
I will add only one point.
I slightly disagree with this.
Okay, sir.
Only one point is there.
Few more things. One is bilateral disease and hyperbilirubinemia.
Okay, sir.
Yes. So, that is, yes, correct. Bad prognosis. Now, only one thing I want to say, that even if you want to remove the kidney, if you in all these conditions, there are papers which has shown that if you drain it for 2 or 3 days, then patient will little improve. And then if you do nephrectomy, the mortality rate is less. So
Yes.
stenting or PCN also
Yes.
helps in decreasing mortality.
Sir, in olden days it is near about 70%
Yeah.
in primary nephrectomy. Nowadays it is with all improved urine antibiotics and all.
Yeah.
It is near about 20%, and in delayed nephrectomy it is near about 6 to 8%. So better to go ahead initially with all grading of the empastematic spinal nephritis, minimal energy therapy, and if at all it is required, it is delayed nephrectomy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you when I started my practice, it was written in Campbell. If you take the old Campbell, that in emphysematous pyelonephritis, if you operate 90% mortality, if you don't operate 100% mortality.
Correct.
It was like that, and I'm telling you, those days we had a real tough time because no antibiotics.
Sir, in
And
those days, surgery was the only treatment.
Only treatment.
advised.
We didn't know about stenting and PCN also. Means
Agreed.
it was not. So once and patient used to come in shock only. I have not seen any patient who has not come in shock. So emergency from casualty, they used to come to OT.
And even your editions at that time, those editions of Campbell did not mention anything about minimally invasive.
No, nothing. When I started, stent was not there also.
Already the classification also. We were just doing, if you remember, Gaurang sir, we had that one fat lady with
Yeah.
bilateral pyelonephritis
Dolakia. Yes.
and diabetic. So we were in such a state that we didn't know what to do, which kidney to operate.
So these are the things we are lucky today.
Surgical management, I think Gitesh sir has already given us a good flowchart.
Yes.
Maheshwari,
you want to say anything?
No, I think first.
Okay.
So sir, Paras's one table is left, but we can do it next time. I mean.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. Sorry, Paras.
And if you want to finish one time, we finish. But next time we have decided that we are going to have this exam only.
Yeah, but sir, we'll be still having this Viva, right, sir? Because it's not confirmed that we have an OSCE-based exam. If we do only purely OSCE and then Viva comes.
No. Viva we will do. What I am trying to tell you is that let us keep in between so that people like we also today. Dr. Oswal asked in this only. He asked so many different questions. So we don't know what question will be asked. So
Yeah,
what
so
we will do, we will circulate the slides and we'll ask everyone to put some questions on that, and we'll make something so that instead of 4 questions, 5 questions, there will be 8 questions.
Sir, I have a suggestion, sir.
Yeah.
The only way to what Tanvi is saying to cover both aspects is let us have few tables of this OSCE pattern, and after Tanvi's questions, if we want to add further questions, then that topic will get over, sir.
Yeah,
No.
that's what we are doing.
No, right. That is true. That is what we want to do.
Yes,
but
sir.
before their exam, what
Yes.
I am suggesting is that let us take their exam like this only, like OSCE.
Yes, sir.
Here we are discussing, but there they are given only 5 to 7 minutes.
Correct, sir. Correct. Here
And
we
in
are,
that
discussing
7,
and we are putting more aspects into it.
so that this is we are going to continue.
Yes.
Next few sessions, but in between I want them to prepare how to answer immediately, like in 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and not only those who are answering.
Yes, sir.
All those who are attending, they can just write down, and at the end, like in a quiz, in USI we have got a quiz the same way, and then at the end we will give them the answers.
Tanvi, any major or minor cases are left, then we can discuss those also.
Actually, the actual case presentations are all done with recording. So
Yeah, I know because I was there for all those cases.
So most of the topics are covered extensively because we had 2-hour presentations. So
okay, no problem. So next time we'll cover this and we'll put only 10 slides and we'll ask everyone to answer it and we'll discuss that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So 10, 10, 10, we will do it like this. Okay.
Yeah, just like today.
Yeah, and anyone has got some good slides or something. Okay.
Yeah, everybody, please give us
please
slides
give us
because I'm
slides.
running short of photos.
Tanvi,
Yes, sir.
मयंक से पूछ लो, उसके पास 30-40 स्लाइड्स है ऑलरेडी.
हाँ वो
Sir.
सब ले लेंगे.
हाँ, उसने भेजा है काफी सारा और भी ले उसे से.
चले.
Yes, sir.
महेश भाई आपके पास भी कुछ रहेगा जो भी रहेगा. हाँ.
Sure.
ओसवाल जी आप भी just
Yes,
भेज
sir.
दो.